Welcome back. Tonight we return to the ancient world, to a story written in shadow and sunlight, where pride meets panic and where one moment of defiance changes two lives forever. This is the tale of Apollo and Daphne, a curse, a chase, and a tree. Before we begin, find a comfortable position. Let your breath slow. The story will wait for you. Now a question. What happens when love is not a gift but a weapon? When desire becomes a curse, and the only escape is to stop being human altogether? Tonight, we'll follow two figures through a forest that remembers everything, and we'll see how a god's arrogance and a nymph's fear became a myth that has never stopped echoing. Let's begin. In ancient Greece, in the valleys where the river Peneus winds through Thessaly, the world was younger. The mountains rose steep and green, covered in oak and laurel. The rivers ran cold and clear, fed by springs that the nymphs called home. The air smelled of wild thyme and sun-warmed stone, and the gods walked among mortals, close enough to touch, close enough to wound. This is a land where every tree might hold a spirit, every stream a daughter of a river god. The boundary between the divine and the natural was thin, like mist at dawn. And in this land, two beings lived in their separate worlds, unaware that their paths would soon collide. Apollo, god of the sun, of music, of prophecy, of healing. He was the golden son of Zeus, radiant and proud. His arrows never missed. His lyre could silence storms. He had slain the great serpent Python, the monster that had terrorized Delphi and claimed the oracle as his own. He was young, powerful, and certain of his place in the cosmos. If Apollo could speak to us now, he might say this: I was untouchable. I had proven myself against the ancient chaos. I had brought order, light, reason. I walked through the world, and it bent toward me like flowers toward the sun. I did not know humility. I did not think I needed to. But the gods are not alone in their power. There are older forces. Smaller gods, perhaps, but no less dangerous. Eros, some call him Cupid, the god of desire. Winged, playful, often shown as a child, but ancient and knowing. He carried two arrows, one tipped with gold to kindle love, one tipped with lead to turn the heart cold with revulsion. He was not subject to reason. He did not answer to Apollo. One day, not long after Apollo's victory over Python, the god was walking through the hills, his bow slung over his shoulder, still flushed with triumph. He came upon Eros, who was testing his own bowstring, small fingers working the curve of a tiny weapon. Apollo laughed. "What are you doing with such a tool, little one? Archery is for warriors, for hunters, for gods like me. That toy of yours is better suited for lighting fires at hearths, not piercing hearts." Eros looked up. His eyes were older than his face. He smiled. "Your arrows may strike any target, Apollo, but mine strike the gods themselves." Apollo waved him off, still laughing, and walked on. He should not have laughed. Eros did not forget. He drew two arrows from his quiver, the first tipped with gold, sharp and bright, the second dull lead, cold and heavy. He waited until the right moment, and then he let them fly. The golden arrow struck Apollo in the chest, just below the heart. It did not wound him. It did not make him bleed. But it filled him instantly with a love so fierce and so sudden that it consumed him like wildfire. He gasped, his vision blurred, and when it cleared he saw her, Daphne. She was a nymph, a daughter of the river god Peneus. She lived in the forests, running free beneath the trees. She was swift and wild, devoted to Artemis, the virgin goddess of the hunt. Daphne had no interest in love, no desire for marriage. She had begged her father to let her remain unwed, to live as Artemis did, in the clean freedom of the woods. And her father, who loved her, had agreed. She wore her hair loose. Her arms were strong from drawing the bow. Her feet were bare, and she moved through the forest like the wind, silent and untouchable. And in that moment Apollo saw her and was lost. But Eros had not finished. The second arrow, the one tipped with lead, flew toward Daphne. It struck her, and where Apollo's heart opened, hers closed. She felt a coldness settle over her, a revulsion toward the very idea of love, and especially toward the god now staring at her with wild, desperate eyes. Apollo stepped forward. Daphne stepped back. He called to her, "Wait, please. I mean you no harm, I am Apollo. I am the god of light, of music, of healing. I can offer you everything. I can sing for you. I can give you immortality, glory, a place beside me. Daphne did not want any of it. She turned and ran. And Apollo, god of reason, god of order, abandoned all thought and ran after her. This is where the myth becomes a chase. Through the forests of Thessaly, under the canopy of green, Daphne ran. Her breath came fast, her feet barely touched the ground. She knew these woods, she had grown up here. But Apollo was a god. He did not tire. He did not slow. He called after her as he ran. Why do you flee from me? I am not your enemy. I am not some wild beast. Stop, please, and hear me. You will hurt yourself. The thorns will cut you. Let me protect you. But his words only filled her with more fear. She ran faster. Apollo ran faster too. The chase went on. Through meadows and groves, across streams under the shadows of ancient oaks, Daphne's lungs burned. Her legs ached. She could hear him behind her, closer now, his breath, his footsteps, his voice. She had no weapon against a god. She had no way to fight him. All she had was speed, and even that was failing. Apollo reached out. His fingers brushed the edge of her cloak, and Daphne, in desperation, cried out to the only one who might hear her. Father, Peneus, if you have any love for me, if the rivers have any power left, help me, change me. Destroy this beauty that has trapped me. Let me be anything but this. The river god heard, and he answered. In an instant, Daphne felt her feet slow, not from exhaustion but from weight. Her toes stretched, pushed down into the earth, and she felt them sink, felt them root. Her legs fused together, bark creeping up from her ankles, rough and brown. Her arms, still outstretched as she ran, began to stiffen, her fingers elongating into thin branches. Her hair, wild and loose, shivered and transformed into leaves, green and glossy. Her skin became wood. Her breath became the rustle of the wind through branches. Her heart, still beating, slowed and became the sap rising in spring. Apollo skidded to a stop, his hand outstretched, and watched in horror as the woman he loved became a tree, a laurel tree. He stood there, frozen. His hand, which had been reaching for her shoulder, now rested on the bark of the trunk. He could feel it, still warm. He could feel her pulse faint beneath the surface. He sank to his knees. Daphne, he whispered. Daphne, forgive me. But the tree did not answer. It stood silent and still, its leaves trembling in the breeze. Apollo stayed there for a long time. The sun moved across the sky, his own domain, and he did not notice. The world continued, and he did not care. Finally, he spoke again, his voice soft. If you cannot be my wife, then you will be my tree. I will honor you. I will wear your leaves as a crown. I will make you sacred. Every victor, every poet, every hero will be crowned with laurel in your name. You will never be forgotten. He reached up and gently broke a small branch from the tree. He wove it into a crown and placed it on his head. And from that day forward, the laurel became Apollo's symbol, the wreath of victory, the poet's crown, the sign of honor and triumph. But it began as something else. It began as a woman who chose to become a tree rather than be caught. The forest grew quiet. The river Peneus flowed on as rivers do, and the nymphs whispered the story to one another in the shadows. Daphne's sisters mourned her, and Artemis, the goddess she had served, stood silent at the base of the tree and did not speak. Apollo returned to Olympus, but he was changed. He wore the laurel crown always. He never spoke of the chase, but those who knew him saw the shadow in his eyes. Eros, watching from afar, did not gloat. He simply returned to his work, testing his bowstring, preparing his arrows. The gods would call on him again. They always did. And the laurel tree stood season after season, its roots deep in the earth, its leaves whispering secrets only the wind could hear. Some say that on certain nights when the moon is full and the forest is silent, you can still hear the sound of footsteps running through the trees. Some say it is Daphne, forever fleeing. Others say it is Apollo, forever chasing. But perhaps it is neither. Perhaps it is simply the memory of the chase, woven into the world itself, a reminder that love without consent is not love at all, that beauty can be a burden, that sometimes the only escape is transformation. The myth does not tell us if Daphne was happy as a tree. It does not tell us if she felt relief or sorrow. It only tells us that she chose it, that when faced with no good options, she took the one that let her remain free, even if freedom meant giving up her human form. And Apollo learned, though the lesson came too late, that not everything that shines should be grasped. That desire, unchecked, can destroy the very thing it seeks. The laurel still grows in Greece, in gardens on hillsides along the banks of rivers. Its leaves are bitter to taste, but their scent is clean and sharp, like memory. And every time someone places a laurel wreath on the head of a poet, a victor, a graduate, they are touching the edge of this story. They are honoring a woman who became a tree to stay whole. The gods are not gentle teachers. Their lessons are written in transformation, in loss, in the space between what we want and what we are given. And this myth, like so many others, does not offer us comfort. It offers us truth. That the world is full of forces larger than us. That love can be a curse as easily as a blessing. That sometimes survival looks like surrender, and sometimes freedom looks like roots. So we remember Daphne, not as Apollo's lost love, but as the nymph who refused to be caught, who chose the tree, the earth, the silence, who became something strange and sacred, and in doing so became immortal. And we remember Apollo, the golden god brought low by his own pride, learning too late that power is not the same as wisdom, and that some things, once broken, cannot be healed, even by the god of healing himself. The story ends as it began, with a tree in a forest, with leaves that whisper in the wind, with a question that has no easy answer. What would you give up to stay free? Thank you for listening tonight. Let this story settle in you gently, like leaves falling in autumn, like roots finding water in the dark. Next time, we'll visit another myth, another transformation, another lesson written in starlight and stone. Until then, rest well. Let the old stories watch over you. And remember that even in the darkest chase, there is always a choice, even if it is the choice to become something new. If you'd like more stories like this, you know where to find us. For now, good night, sleep well, and may your dreams be kind.